Good evening, everyone. Thank you all for being here tonight for our Building Your Toolbox, where we are going to learn about the Feldenkrais Method. My name is Nicole Hemingway, and I have the privilege and honor of serving as the CEO of the U.S. Pain Foundation. And the U.S. Pain Foundation is truly just dedicated to improving the lives of people with chronic illnesses and serious injuries that cause pain. We are here to empower, to educate, and connect individuals with resources and programs that are going to help them along their journeys. We do this in a variety of different ways, and I just wanted to share a screenshot, if you will, of all the different programs that we have. And our programs range from our national network of support groups, where we have national meetings that anybody living with chronic pain can attend. They are all online and free. We have state-based location support groups for those individuals that really want to connect with individuals that live nearby and are part of their community. We also have specialized population groups that range from groups helping teens, caregivers, care partners, LGBTQ+ community, BIPOC, functional nutrition, the reading room, creative arts, and so much more. So if you are looking for support, please know that we are here. We provide peer-to-peer compassion, support, and a safe place and evidence-based education and tools to really help you along your journey. In addition to that, we have a pediatric program. We also have a lot of different educational materials and also programs and services to help individuals find other treatments that can really help them manage their pain. And in addition, we have the Invisible Project, which is our flagship program, where we are sharing individual stories, their personal stories living with chronic diseases, as well as making sure that there are relevant articles and topics to help individuals along their journeys. And finally, we do a lot around advocacy. It is so important for all of us to utilize our voice, and together we amplify that patient voice, and hopefully together we can improve access to equitable healthcare for all. So with that, I am going to switch gears a little bit, and we are going to talk about why we are all here tonight. And I'm going to turn the stage over to Bobby Blades, who is a longtime support group leader for U.S. Pain Foundation through our Pain Connection program. And she's going to go over the agenda for this evening.
So this evening, we're going to go over some housekeeping items first, and then we will meet our expert, Robert Valdez, Jr., and he will be talking to us tonight about the Feldenkrais Method. Then we will have questions and answers afterwards, where all of you can participate. So for the housekeeping, we're all on mute for the first portion, except for the speaker. And then please remute yourself once you're finished speaking if you ask a question. Questions will be taken at the end. During the Q&A section, please raise your hand through the participants icon at the bottom of your Zoom screen. You may also find it at the reactions section. When you're done asking your question, please remute yourself and lower your hand. Keep questions on topic as much as possible. And if responding to another participant, please be careful not to rescue or give advice. We're here to validate and support, so it may be helpful to say, this is what worked for me. And remember, different treatments work differently for everyone, so please be respectful of other opinions. So, disclaimer, tonight's event is educational only. The information is not meant to take the place of your healthcare provider. You should always consult with him or her about your unique health situation. U.S. Pain does not recommend or endorse any one therapy, treatment, or product. And if you feel that your medical condition or conditions are adversely affected by your participation in this webinar tonight, it is your responsibility to discontinue participation and to immediately consult with your healthcare provider. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce Christine Sutmary, who is one of our Pain Connection support group leaders. She teaches functional nutrition, and she's going to introduce our speaker. Go ahead, Christine.
Well, thanks. Yes, I've known Robert for probably 5 years now, and he started out as my dance teacher, which he continues to be. But unfortunately, I had long COVID that went into my joints, and he was so helpful with the Feldenkrais method to keep my mobility and to be able to dance. And during the pandemic, we were all in our separate rooms. So he does work virtually for anyone who's thinking about that. But that also I've worked with him in person, and it's just so magical that with so little effort that you get such amazing results. So I want you all to listen very carefully to what Robert has to say tonight, and really consider it as way of moving, when most of us are kind of thinking like, oh, I don't know if I could do, real exercise anymore, but Feldenkrais is a whole other approach. So, so thanks, Robert. We're looking forward to tonight.
Hello, and thank you, Christine, Bobby, Nicole. I'm very honored and excited to be here today. I don't know if I'm an expert, but I'm definitely somebody who's been practicing for a while. So yes, I'm Robert Valdez, and I'm a Guild certified Feldenkrais practitioner based in New York City, where I teach weekly online group classes as well as in-person private sessions. I want to start today by sharing that at the heart of the Feldenkrais method is a belief that every person has the potential for greater physical and emotional well-being. Feldenkrais helps you unlock that potential and live your best life. Now, the Feldenkrais method is not intended to be a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. The exercises and movement lessons offered through the Feldenkrais method are intended to promote general health and well-being and are not a form of medical treatment or therapy. If you have a medical condition, injury, or are experiencing pain or discomfort, we recommend that you consult with a qualified healthcare professional before beginning any new exercise program, including the Feldenkrais method. The Feldenkrais method is a form of somatic education developed by engineer and physicist Moshe Feldenkrais. It uses gentle movement and directed attention to help people learn new and more effective ways of living the life they want. It's based on principles of physics, biomechanics, and an empirical understanding of learning and human development. The work focuses on expanding your perception and increasing awareness so that you become more aware of your habits and where you could invite more ease while you develop new ways of moving. It's through this embodied experiential model that you gain your autonomy over your experience and eventually become your own best teacher. This learning process has been shown to have therapeutic benefits, and for some, may even function as a complement to medical care. The Feldenkrais method has 2 modalities: verbally guided group classes, often called awareness through movement lessons, and individual private sessions or functional integration sessions, which use touch and movement to non-verbally communicate these same principles. In group classes, which we'll get to experience a bit of today, the teacher creates the conditions for learning by using carefully constructed, intelligent lessons to communicate with your nervous system, with your brain. And you are an active participant in the process by attending to your own experience. This approach is very different than exercise. We call the group classes lessons because the process of sensory motor learning that you're engaged in causes the neural networks to change and reorganize. You could say that there's a direct correlation between the learning you do and the improvement you feel. Conventional exercise, by contrast, often has the accent on accomplishing a set of repetitions or pushing threshold. The method is designed to promote neuroplasticity, which is your brain's ability to reorganize and adapt in response to new experiences and learning. It's when your brain rewires itself and creates new connections between neurons, which allows us to learn new skills, adapt to new situations, recover, be resilient, or even just thrive. Think of it like a garden. Just as a garden can be shaped and transformed by a gardener, our brains can be shaped and transformed by our experiences. When we learn something new or practice a skill, our brain creates new neural pathways that make it easier for us to perform that task in the future. Sure, you could use the method to learn a party trick or the latest dance move, but most of us could just simply benefit from learning to move with more ease and comfort. Similarly, when we experience injury or loss of function in a particular area of the brain, our brain can compensate by creating new connections or rewiring existing ones. Neuroplasticity is the amazing and powerful ability of our brain that allows us to learn, grow, and adapt throughout our lifetime. It's a reminder that our brains are not fixed and unchangeable, but rather dynamic and constantly evolving. One of the ways the method accomplishes this sensory motor learning is by purposefully guiding your awareness to specific movements and sensations, and by exploring a variety of ways of moving and being in your body. This is because the sensory and the motor systems in our body are closely linked, and by improving our sensory awareness, we can improve our ability to move and perform tasks with greater ease and precision. But improvement isn't just limited to movement. Moving, sensing, thinking, feeling are inseparable in reality. I've seen proof of this when my students and clients report that improvements in their habits, movement, and perception lead them to feel more flexible, responsive, expressive in their thinking and emotional lives too. As Moshe Feldenkrais said, movement is life. Life is a process. Improve the quality of movement and we improve the quality of life itself. For time's sake today, I'm going to focus on just one of the many learning strategies in the method by highlighting the idea of doing less. One of the ways we can become enthralled in doing less is through exploring differentiation. Differentiation is a key concept in the method that refers to the ability to appreciate and distinguish subtle differences in movements and sensations in your body. Moshe Feldenkrais said, "We move according to our perceived self-image." Brain maps make up a part of our self-image. And brain maps or sensory motor maps are representations of our body and our brain that guides our senses, movements, and help us assess the general state of our body. Recent neurological research has shown that these maps are not a simple reproduction of our body and our brain, but they reflect how we function in the world. These maps are constantly being updated and refined based on our experiences and movements. When we move in a particular way, the corresponding neural connections in the brain are strengthened, making it easier to perform that movement in the future. However, when our movements are repetitive or limited, our brain maps become less differentiated. This can make it more difficult to perform other movements or activities that require greater differentiation, as the corresponding neural connections may be weaker or less refined. By focusing on subtle differences in movement or sensation, differentiation, you're able to refine your brain maps and develop greater control and precision in your movements. This can lead to improved posture, balance, coordination, comfort, and overall organization. In movement lessons, you'll often see that we play with the comfortable, easy middle range of a movement, or even just the beginning range. It's not necessary for us to do our maximum. This learning strategy is connected to the Fechner-Weber principle of perception. This principle states that the smallest noticeable difference in sensation is proportional to the magnitude of the initial sensation. Okay, in other words, the smaller the stimulus, the easier it is to sense differences. For example, picture it. It's easier to sense the increased weight of a fly landing on a feather that you're holding than it is to sense the same weight of that fly on a heavy box that you're carrying. So in a similar way, by limiting our range of motion to what is truly comfortable for us, we can focus on smaller, more subtle movements that are within our threshold of perception. By doing this, we effectively turn down the internal noise or lighten the load so we can move more easily and sense that added weight of that metaphorical fly. When we move in ways outside of our comfort and ease, it can create tension and resistance in your body, which directly interferes with our ability to detect and differentiate between subtle differences in sensation. This can make it more difficult to learn and integrate new movement patterns and can lead to less efficient movement and decreased comfort. But when we limit our range of motion to what is truly comfortable for us today in the here and now, we also create a more supportive learning environment for ourselves, which ultimately enhances our ability to sense, feel, and care for ourselves. This refined way of engaging in our learning process creates more efficient and comfortable movement patterns over time. It's cumulative. If we rehearse ease, then we increase the likelihood of more ease. Now, I want to pivot to another important component of the learning process, rest. Rest allows your brain to consolidate and integrate new information and experiences. When we learn something new or practice a new skill, for example, our brain creates new neural connections that help to encode this information. However, this process of encoding new information is not complete until we give our brain time to consolidate and integrate this new information, which often requires rest and ultimately sleep. During rest and sleep, your brain is able to review and consolidate the new information and experiences that were gained during wakefulness. This process helps to strengthen the neural connections associated with the new information, making it easier to recall and use in the future. Additionally, rest and sleep help to clear out the unnecessary redundant information, making it easier to focus on and remember the most important details. The main point I want to drive home is that the connection between rest and learning is that rest allows your brain to consolidate and integrate new information and experiences, which is essential for effective learning and memory retention. Feldenkrais, of course, uses this connection between rest and learning to enhance sensory motor learning and improve movement patterns. So, during a Feldenkrais lesson, you're guided through gentle movements and encouraged to pay attention to your sensation and movements. After a series of these movements, you're often asked to rest for a period of time, either by lying down or sitting quietly. Take advantage of this rest period. It allows your brain the time to consolidate and integrate the new sensory motor experiences that were gained during the movement portion of the lesson. Additionally, the rest periods in a Feldenkrais lesson provide an opportunity for your body to reset and relax, further enhancing your learning process. It gives you the time to sense between doing and non-doing, so you can track changes and even detect hidden habitual effort that you can still learn to let go of. By combining movement and rest in this structured and intentional way, the Feldenkrais method helps you enhance your sensory motor learning and improve your movement patterns. In fact, I'm always encouraged as a teacher when I see my students taking their own individual pauses and rests, because it means that they're deeply listening to themselves, self-regulating and owning their experience, being their own best advocate and teacher. I acknowledge that everyone's situation here is unique. Some people are beginning their journey of resilience, while others are experienced with practices and interventions that bring them more comfort. Regardless of these differences, everyone has the potential for improvement. What I'm offering today should be accessible to nearly everyone. The movements we explore in these lessons are phylogenetic, that is, universal to all of us. They are fundamental, developmental, and a part of our evolutionary birthright. You'll be improving relationships between the various parts and domains of yourself in a fun and expansive way. And with that, why don't we do something experiential? So in a moment, we're going to do that movement lesson, which we're calling the awareness through movement lesson. And in order to help set you up, we're just going to need a few things. So you're going to see on the screen, it says you need a stable stool or four-legged sturdy chair, preferably without arms. And usually anything with wheels is not appropriate. However, it was brought to my attention, well, what about a question? Well, what if somebody's in a wheelchair? Lock your wheels. As long as you can lock your wheels, then you're totally fine. And this is because the movements we're going to do, if you have wheels, the chair will move and you'll be doing a lot of extra gripping and compensatory movements that are not necessary. So if you're not already, there's a little picture of an example of a chair without arms. If you need to grab that chair, that stool, please do that now so you can set yourself up. And then I'll give you a moment or so, and then I'll kind of explain how the lessons work. So while you're doing that, I'll give a little bit of background information. So in the Feldenkrais method, it's not usual for the teacher to physically demonstrate the movement, since this is not a, you could call like declarative or imitative approach, but rather it's an experiential approach that's unique to each participant's given organization, orientation, and limitations. Even so, I know it's sometimes helpful to see another student as a reference when leading a class virtually. So Christine, as you see pinned here, has graciously offered to be spotlit. Now, she is just a reference, not an absolute, and only intended as a touchstone in case you get lost. But you'll come to quickly realize that as we do the lesson, you won't have much time to look at the screen anyways. So just look if you need, but you'll be moving and changing your focus. So don't worry too much about what she's doing. Just follow the sound of my voice as I explain the instructions. And I usually say them more than once, so don't worry. I also may just switch my own view to maybe like a gallery view so that I can kind of see what's happening in the room. And if I see people are going rogue or misunderstanding, I'll continue to refine my instructions as well. So maybe even for the purposes of this, if we just make Christine's spotlit, since you don't need to look at me at all, since I'm not going to do the movement, I'm going to focus on, you know, the conditions for learning and just making sure that everything is good. So if we're ready to go, which I'm just going to scan through whoever did decide to join on camera. You don't have to, but whoever has joined on camera, I'll just make sure we're all sitting and looking like we're ready to go, which it looks like we are. And Christine, you're ready to go? Great. Okay, so let's start out by coming forward to the forward edge of your chair, stool, or wheelchair, with the wheels locked, of course, sitting upright with your feet gently resting flat on the floor, comfortable, you know, like shoulders width apart, with your feet underneath your knees, your hands flat, gently resting somewhere comfortable on your lap or thighs. And your back is away from the backrest if you have one to begin. And let's just begin with the simple scan. Just observe and notice. And I find it sometimes helpful, and other people have shared, that by closing the eyes, you kind of get out of the cortical place and into a more sensing feel place. And that's especially helpful for this beginning scan. So if you feel comfortable, I invite you to close your eyes and just observe and notice. Just allow whatever idiosyncrasies you notice. Our brains love to sense differences between the right and the left, differences between before and after. And this scan, this opening scan, is just a snapshot that we can compare as we go to track changes and what's happening. How easy and simple is it to sit like this right now? And I'm going to ask a series of questions. You just make a mental note to yourself. You silently answer to yourself. How easy and simple is it to sit in this way? To begin, sense and feel how your bones, how your skeleton make contact with the floor, with your chair. Move your attention to your sitting bones, the sits bones, those little bony things that stick out at the bottom of your tush. Tune in to what you sense and feel in your heels. Your sitting bones carry the weight of your pelvis and entire trunk and spine and head while sitting. What's that like? Are you sitting more to one side than the other? Don't change it, don't fix it, just notice. Do you feel like you're sitting rounded as if on your tailbone a bit? Or are you right on those bony sitting bones? Or are you a bit forward, almost as if you're sitting on your hamstrings? All are okay, all are valid. We're just doing a little check-in. Your heels, the bones of your heels and the soles of your feet, how do they connect to the earth to ground you? Compare how your right foot makes contact with the floor compared to your left foot. Remember, differences are interesting. They don't need to be the same. Imagine a line, the line of your spine from your sitting bones upwards to your head. What do you imagine the shaping of your back is like? If there was like a three-dimensional avatar that you could construct of your spine, what would the shaping be like? Does it have curves? Is it straight? Is it rounded? And how does your head balance on top of all of this? With a very gentle, soft focus, watch the movements you can detect of your breathing. Do you notice it in your chest, in your belly, in your ribs? Or do you hear it or feel it through your nose or mouth? What moves easily as you breathe? And is your lower abdomen still, or does it move as you breathe? Okay, file these little findings away for the moment and reinvigorate yourself to sit upright and at the forward edge if you've migrated maybe somewhere else. Feet flat on the floor, hands very just comfortable wherever that is in your lap or thighs. And very gently start to look upwards a bit, just where it's easy, and record where your eyes see so you can remember it for later. Okay, maybe everyone pause for a moment. I'm going to ask a question. What told you to stop moving? Was it a bump, a jerk in the movement, strain? Why? Why would you do that? Why not just stay in the range of movement that's really comfortable? I'll give you something to think about. I'll use a metaphor. When you're walking to the kitchen sink, you don't need the feedback of bumping into the sink to know that you're there, right? Bashing up against the edges of our movement is often the only way we think we know when it's time to stop or go in another direction, or maybe even stop altogether because we can't go any further. It's a deeply ingrained habit. And unfortunately, that habit creates a lot of wear and tear on our bodies and isn't the best use of our intelligent brain. So from the very beginning, I'm already going to encourage all of us to do less. This is just a reference test movement. This is not the end all be all. This is not even the most complicated thing we'll do. So let's try that again. And we'll do it in a new, refreshed way with that doing less, smaller range of motion, and stopping before you bash up against that sink. So very gently, look upwards, just what's truly easy and comfortable. What's the easiest first thing you see with your eyes? Maybe it's a spot on the wall, the corner of the wall, could be the ceiling, doesn't have to be. For most of us, it won't even be the ceiling. And then very gently come back to the middle and look downwards. Find a spot now in this direction that's easy, simple, in your field of vision. Come back to the middle, starting point, and look to the left And just see if you can see something in your space, maybe record what's very easy. Don't even strain in the eyeballs. And come back to the center. Look to the left, to the right, I believe now, and record that. And then let that all go and rest. So for our rests, you can sit back in your chair if you have a seat back. If you're in a stool, you can slouch. You can do whatever is comfortable as long as it feels good during the rests. Nothing is forbidden as long as you know what you're doing. Know what you're doing so you can do what you want. So really just whatever's comfortable. All right, come back to the forward edge of your chair in the setup that we began with. So that's feet flat on the floor, your legs gently parted, that shoulders width, and your hands just resting somewhere comfortably. Now, slowly raise your head and eyes upwards in the direction of the ceiling, going only as far as is comfortable, and then return to the starting place, which is facing forward. Pause. Maybe take a whole inhalation and exhalation before trying another iteration. You move your head, nose, and eyes a bit upwards. And then you bring it back and you take your mini pause for the length of your cycle of breath. And you'll do the movement again, but this time, allow your back to slightly arch as you look up with your head, nose, and eyes. It's a gentle arch. You look up a few more times, and each time, play with maybe exhaling as you do the movement. You find a way of coordinating an exhalation as you tilt your head, nose, and eyes up, gently arching your back. And maybe let's do a comparison because, again, difference is so good for our learning. Compare that to inhaling and see which is easier, which helps you more. Which breathing strategy makes this feel simpler? Is it when you inhale as you do this movement? Or if you exhale? There's no need to crank your neck or strain your eyes. Paradoxically, the improvement comes automatically if you just do what's simple and easy within your comfort, not anybody else's, yours, and your comfort today. Now, the next time you raise your head upwards and allow your back to arch that tiny bit, look downwards with your eyes at the same time. Now, go slowly. You may have to coordinate this, so go slowly. Your head and nose are still going to go upwards, but your eyes are going to look downwards as you do this movement. See, where can you relax in your eyes, neck, and shoulders? Of course, this movement feels different. From an orthopedic point of view, your eyes have nothing to do with the movement of your head. But from a neurological point of view, it has everything to do with this movement pattern. And remember, your nervous system also controls, it's the neuromuscular system. It controls how you're going to move. So see if you can feel that the movement of your head and neck changes a little bit when your eyes move in opposition. Yield to this change. Acknowledge how this changes the movement in your head and your back, and maybe even what's the comfortable range now. Whatever it is, honor it. You don't need to push it or make it the same as the previous variation. Now, return to raising your head, nose, and eyes upwards, all together to the ceiling as you allow your back to gently arch. Everything together now. You go and you come back to the middle, you pause, and then when you're ready, another go. Something easier, right? Something a little more coordinated. Maybe even going a little bit further spontaneously. All right, everyone rest. So our senses are tools of your brain. They help us make contact with the outside world. So I want to say another thing about the rest I didn't say earlier, but the rest is not because we're doing strenuous movements. Remember, the rest is for that learning part of the process, the consolidation, the integration. And it's also, I like to think of it as a reset. We like to put punctuation. It's not one long run-on sentence of movement. We have periods, we have spaces, we have new paragraphs. So it's not one jumbled continued. All right, let's come back forward, sit to the front edge as we've been doing. Now, very slowly, now lower your head and eyes downwards in the direction of the floor. Just what's easy. And then return to the middle. Do this a few times, making sure to pause in between each iteration. Now, it's not repetitions, so each time you do it, find a new place where you can relax. I'll continue to give some pointers, some helpful hints. How can your breathing support you? Maybe try exhaling with this movement now, this variation. Your head, nose, and eyes arc downwards. Maybe try inhaling as you do this. And there's another option. What if you held your breath? Some of you will know instantly that holding your breath is not the appropriate choice for you. So choose the easiest one. As you do this movement, let your back round as you look down with your head, nose, and eyes. Find as you allow your back to shape and round where you can relax in your neck, in your chest, in your shoulder. And you have iterations, so you don't have to do it all at once. Maybe you find a little more ease in your neck with one iteration. And then the next time you can look at your chest. There's no rush. Now, let's do something interesting. Let's do the opposite with your eyes. So look upwards with your eyes as you gently lower your head and round your back, softening in your torso, neck, and shoulders. So start from the middle with everything. And if you go slow, you'll easily discover how to do this opposite movement. It might take a few iterations, but you'll figure out the coordination if you do it gently and slowly. There's no prize for who does it first. It's you. So as you let your head and nose lower towards the floor, your eyes arc upwards. How does this variation change the movement of your head and chest? What you sense and feel about the movement. Your eyes are doing the opposite thing. So they're going up as your head and nose are going down. So of course it has a neuromuscular effect, but there's nothing wrong with this movement. You should be able to do this. There may even be situations in which you must do this. So see where you can soften and relax to accommodate this variation so that this too becomes comfortable and easy. Whenever you need a break, you take a break. And there's another strategy that I could go into a whole nother talk about, but I'll just give it as a little tidbit. You can do it in your kinesthetic imagination. If you're ever super confused about a direction or something feels like it's not as available at the moment, you do it in your kinesthetic imagination. And what that means is you do it with as much detail in real time in your mind, like a mental rehearsal. All right, everyone, come back to that forward edge. Now raise your head, nose, and eyes up like we were doing earlier, while gently allowing your back to arch, and see how this is coming along. Probably something even a little bit easier. Are you noticing more parts of your back are beginning to come alive in the movement? So you don't have to stay there. You can go and come back. There's no need to stay. It's not a stretch. The learning process is irregular and takes place in small steps. Just do your best and keep reducing, keep doing less. Please rest. How quickly can you just let go and just rest so that you can enjoy doing nothing for a moment? In other words, no drama, just like you let it go. You spend more time in the doing nothing, making the lines bright between doing and non-doing. All right, come back to sit to the front edge. Now let your head hang down so that your chin comes in the direction of your chest, somewhere comfortably where you can let it hang there, leave there. Keeping your chin downwards. It does not have to touch your chest. It's the comfortable amount down. Let your head stay there, declined in this way, almost as if bowing. And now just start to arch your back a little bit and then let it come back to the more natural, neutral shape when you're just sitting. So you arch your back and then you bring it back to just as if you were sitting simply. You increase the arch just a little bit. Remember, there's no need to slam up against that edge. Do less, maybe do 50% of what you know you could do. And then once you're back in the middle with your back, bring your head up, start in the middle, looking forwards. And then let your head come to your chest as you arch your back. So now you're doing these two movements together, and then bring everything back to the starting place. So you do this 2 or 3 times maximum. Each time you do it, something is simpler or softer about the way you do it. Your head declines, bows as you arch your back. Once you've done those 2 or 3 times, just come back to the middle, neutral. And now raise your head and nose and eyes upwards while arching your back and feel the difference. Probably yet again. Feel the way the various parts of your spine are arching now. Notice how far upwards your eyes are spontaneously seeing now. Now, it's not the movement itself that makes the change. The improvement is coming as a result of your increased kinesthetic sensitivity and awareness. So sit front, start looking in the middle, and now tilt your chin, nose, and eyes upwards a bit as you round your lower back. Return to the middle. So now you're letting almost like that tail tuck underneath as your head, nose, and eyes goes up. You're tilting your chin upwards. It's a funny little movement, but just go slow. Alternate now. So chin goes down and your back arches. And then as your chin goes up, your back rounds. Find the clarity in your mental picture of what's being asked. The chin goes down and your back arches. Go slow, go soft, don't force it. As your chin goes up, your back rounds. As you get clear in your mind first, then you have a chance to get clear in your body. Chin comes to the chest as your back gently arches. Chin tilts up as your back rounds. Rest. Please come forward again. And now slowly lift your head, nose, and eyes and look upwards while arching your back. And then as you slowly lower and bow your head, round your back. So you tilt your head and eyes up, gently arching your back. And then as you bow your head down, you round your back. You'll feel probably that those sitting bones we sensed earlier are starting to rock and roll, change their contact on your seat. Just feel that as you coordinate the arching of your back as you look up and the rounding of your back as you look down. And then just return to the center. Do that test movement of just looking upwards. Let's see if there's a bit of incremental change yet again, something different. Each time you look upwards, find a coordination between the movement of your head, the timing of the arching of your back, that they arrive, I should say they start, they arrive, and they return all together in sync. Your shoulder blades move a little bit closer together in the back as you look upwards. We're just going from the middle in the upwards direction. Maybe you could even allow your stomach to relax, maybe protrude very gently. See how something frees up in your back and the whole coordination when you release your belly. Allow your pelvis to tilt forwards as you look upwards. So we're just going from the middle and the upwards direction, so not downwards. Feel that as you go upwards, you're getting a little bit taller. Come back to the middle, and now let's just explore the downwards, from the middle and downwards a few times. As you go downwards, allow your back to round. Each time as you look downwards with your head, you're doing your iterations at the slow speed that you find really nice. Your chest can soften and flatten a bit. And then you come back. Keep it a gentle, continuous, slow, almost Tai Chi like movement. So it's not a jerky movement. It's very fluid. Your shoulders and upper back can now round forwards in this direction. See if you can sense that. Maybe another time you can sense that your pelvis rounds backwards as if to tuck your tail in this direction, the downwards direction. And can you feel that you're getting a little bit shorter? All right, rest, completely let it go. We'll do maybe one more variation. But take your rest. All right, come to the forward edge. And now turn your body off to the right a bit and stay there. So just like turn your whole self a little bit to the right. And now stay off to the right. And it doesn't have to be 90 degrees off to the right. Let's say 45 degrees off from the center. So it's nothing extreme. It's like off to the diagonal, right? Now, staying off here to the right, alternate the raising and lowering of your head, nose, and eyes with the shaping of your back, what we just did. The back arches as you look up and rounds as you look downwards. Head, nose, and eyes all facing in the same direction. Pause the next time you're down. Stay there. And to make the upwards movement easier, lift your left hip slightly as you look up. Just a little bit, like as if you were putting, I don't know, like a playbill from a Broadway play underneath your left buttock. Just very subtle as you do the upwards movement, and then you let it come down as you go downwards. So it's just a little help. You hike that left hip just ever so subtly as you go upwards. And it comes down as you go down. See where you can relax your neck, shoulders, and legs as much as possible. And then let's try this off to the left. So turn off to the left now, and let's see. It may be a different experience. Most of us, it's different on the two sides. So slowly turned off leftwards now. Do the raising and lowering, the upwardness of your head, nose, and eyes as you arch your back, and then down, rounding your back as you go down. And see if as you go upwards on this side, if your right hip can help you do the upwards movement. Of course, you're pausing and resting whenever you need to. You rejoin us whenever you need to. I've already seen Christine take her own independent pauses when she needs to, which is great modeling. And everyone else, please do that when you need to. So now slowly turn off to the right. And now arch, look up. And then as you lower your head, round and bring yourself to the center, to the middle. And then slowly turn to the left as you begin to lift your head, nose, and eyes and arch your back upwards. Then you lower your head down, round your back as you return through the middle, through the center. And then you go up to the other side as if we're connecting these two sides, like a big arc from one side to the other in the shape of the letter U. How smooth and continuous can you make this? Taking any sense of jerkiness out of the movement. So reduce it, make it smaller and slower if you need to accomplish this smooth, continuous quality. Notice how your left hip can raise up a little when you're turned off to the right. And it's the opposite hip as you look in the opposite direction. It's almost as if you can firmly stand on that sitting bone side that you're looking. Observe how your shoulder blades can come together as you're looking up, and they can come apart as you're looking down. Do less. Do 25% of what you know you could do, maybe. You get the benefit because it's the learning. Again, it's not the movement. As the movement becomes simpler and easier, if it's available to you, you can arch as much as you want, as long as it feels good. And likewise, you can round as much as you want, as long as it feels good. All right, to rest, to relax your entire body. Okay, come forward and let's just look up with the head, nose, and eyes. Let's measure the improvement in ease, comfort. See how this short lesson has already changed the way you look up. And you can look down. How about to the left and to the right? How has everything gotten a little bit simpler and easier, incrementally, something, whether it's ease, comfort, range. Improvement is on a spectrum. Improvement came through the awareness of your sensation and movements, using differentiation and orienting your range of motion to evolving comfort, making little refinements with each new piece of information and variation. So take the lesson with you throughout the rest of today, paying close attention to the echo of this way of gently working with yourself. It could show up in unexpected and surprising ways. That's half the fun, just noticing seemingly spontaneous improvements in feeling, thinking, sensing, and moving. A lesson doesn't have to end with the last movement. Let the learning process linger and grow through your curiosity. Thank you.